Hi everybody, welcome back to the March Mood Mindfulness Challenge. It's day 28 and we are talking about self-esteem. In yesterday's video, I talked about how self-esteem is made up of three components. That is being able to meet your needs, being able to meet your emotions, and being able to enforce your boundaries. And they are the three things that help you form your sense of value, your sense of worthiness, your self-esteem, and your confidence. So today I want to chunk down and get right down and get into needs. Now, we talked about needs in one of the earlier videos, and if you haven't seen that, I'm going to leave a link below so you can go ahead and check that out. We're going to talk about needs from another perspective, and I hope you play along here. It will sort of take you back to your previous time as a child, as a teenager, in your earlier years. So I do want you to bring a sense of lightness and a sense of observership, if I can use that word, and I don't know if it's a word, so play with me here. You are going to look upon it as if you're a third person. You're not going to go in there and actually experience all the things you experience. I want you to dissociate and just be an observer, a neutral observer that looks upon what was happening and sees where things went for you, so your needs were met, and things maybe did not go as you would have liked them to be, and your needs were not met. And this is where we can start to fill in the gaps that may or may not exist. So once again, I want to say, let's look at it quite lightly. Let's look at it as an exercise, and let's see what we can learn from this and move forward from here. So I want you to think of a brand new baby, okay? A brand new baby that's just born into the world. Now, I know, if I may speak for the both of us, that baby is so worthy. That baby deserves everything in the whole world. That baby is born to be a doctor, a teacher, a pet lover, a scientist, an astronaut, a fireman. Whatever that baby wants, you know that baby can have. Okay, obviously that baby is just laying there, can't even walk, can't even ask for anything that they need, but you know that inside them, they have the capacity, they have the DNA, they have the capability, they have the skill, they have the confidence, every single strength, every single value is in there. It's in their DNA, and all it needs is a little bit of time and a little bit of nurture and a little bit of help for them to start walking and talking and looking at the world and seeing what they want, and then expanding their skills and getting bigger and better. So I want you to think of it in this context, in that we all have everything inside us, everything you ever want, it's here. If you've got the blueprint for it, then all we need to do is just start to activate it, start working on it like building a muscle, and then it reaches potential and we get what we want. So that beautiful baby that you're looking at, that baby, that child is so worthy. They can have whatever it is they want. It's worthy. It's like a fact. Everybody on this earth loves children. Everybody in this world wants to have children. And now I'm using this as a generalization. Of course, not every single person. Some people choose other things over children. And once again, that's freedom of choice. But the majority, people want to fall in love, people want to have children, and people want to make a family and leave a legacy to the next generation. I think it's something it's in our blueprint, in our DNA. So that baby deserves so many rights, right? It deserves to be nurtured. It deserves to be protected. It deserves to be educated. It deserves to be respected. It deserves to be cared for and loved. And actually, I want to talk a little bit about the 7 freedoms. And this is the 7 freedoms of children, the 7 freedoms of a baby, a child, and they are to be extended to us in our adulthood. So the 7 freedoms are, you have the freedom to use your senses to make sense of the world around you. And we talked about this in the beginning. That baby has a right to see. That baby has a right to hear things. That baby has a right to smell things. The baby has a right to taste things, so that that baby can understand the world around them and make sense of what they like and what they don't like. And also be able to, I guess, make a decision. I see this, which means this. And it rolls on to the next freedom, which is the freedom to feel and own what you feel. So instead of being told what to feel, you deserve the right to actually have that feeling form inside you, so you can understand that I fell and ouch, the sensation that I'm feeling is uncomfortable. My whole body is reacting uncomfortably. When I fall, I know I'm uncomfortable. And when I fall, the red stuff comes out of me. I'm bleeding. So we have the right to see what we see and feel what we feel, so that we understand how the world works around us, so that we know that when we fall and break skin, we bleed. The next freedom is the freedom to think what you think instead of being told what you think. So a lot of people have different points of view, and we talked about this before. We get the information in our mind and we make sense of it due to the filters in our head. We have a love filter, we have a meaning filter, we have a money filter, we have so many filters. We work on a metacognition, and it's a bit beyond this video, but we have certain filters that make us see the world through our eyes and not the world as it is. That's why everything that happens is neutral, and it's just our filters that put a meaning to it. So falling down is bad because I bleed. Falling down is okay because I get back up, and it's the meaning that you give it. So we have the freedom to think the way we think instead of being told what to think. So all cats are bad because they scratch you. All dogs are bad because they bark and they make noise. All cats are bad because they scratch, or all dogs bark and bite children. And it could be based on, that belief is based on a previous experience, and usually a previous negative experience is what causes these harsh beliefs, versus a family where there are no bad experiences, and cats are great and dogs are great, and there's nothing wrong with cats and dogs. So when our beautiful baby goes to school and talks about dogs are bad, dogs bite, dogs bark, they don't know that dogs bite and bark. It's just been told to them because when dad was younger, he was bitten by a dog. So as children, we do have that freedom to think what we think based on how we've experienced the world, and not my mommy told me that dogs are bad, or my daddy said that I should always eat this because that's what makes my teeth grow. That was so random. So the next freedom is the freedom to say what you feel and think. Instead of being shut down or denied your opinion, or or asking for permission. And straight away I'm laughing because doesn't our school system tell you shut up and put your hand up? Anyway, but I kind of want to bring it to your attention because it's sometimes how we are denied due to either our culture, our society, our institutions, our families. If we're feeling like we need to go to the toilet, we should be able to voice that immediately. I need to go to the toilet because there's a need in my body. Versus, and this has happened to me so many times with my children, the need to go to the toilet and being told to hold it until recess. And I would get so angry, and I talked to the teacher, and teachers were adamant. Children should understand that toilet breaks only occur during recess. However, when my son actually values recess so much that he can actually hold it, to maximize playtime with his kids. And that's what was happening, right? So he then learned that he could hold it for recess, he could hold it sitting in class, but then he needed to grow up to understand that, the worst consequences was peeing right there in front of everyone. And so he learned, and it takes time, and it actually is a learning experience, of course. But the freedom to say what you think and say what you feel should be given to everyone without fear of repercussion, without fear of, I don't care, pee your pants. That's not love and kindness, right? Another freedom is to ask for what you want and what you need. Once again, asking to go to the toilet and then being denied, that's not kind. And it kind of gives the child the feeling that their wants and their needs are not important, or that the teacher's needs are more important than the child's. So this is one of the things that impacts self-esteem. And we find that a lot of the things that we worry about and that do bring down our self-confidence is some of the negative things that happen to us at school. So if you had a beautiful, loving home where all this was guaranteed for you, and then you moved into an environment that was quite harsh, that needed to teach the kids to learn for themselves and have to hold it, and all these things that I don't want to get into, it is a steep learning curve, and it's associated with negative experiences, and we make those things mean something, and they get trapped inside us, and that meaning stays there because it turns into a belief. And every time we see something in the world or experience something in the world where it triggers that belief, like, oh yeah, that's right, they don't want me to voice my opinions, I better be quiet, or else I'll be told that I don't matter. It reinforces, it like digs the track in your neural pathway just that little bit deeper, and that meaning embeds a bit further in your neurology, which affects your emotions, it affects your behavior. You know where this goes. So yeah, we all have the freedom to ask for what we need and what we want, without fear of reprisal or consequence. Another freedom that we have is the ability to question and to doubt and to challenge things as they are, instead of falling in line. So we are all born not just that little bit unique, just that little bit special, and with a different perspective. So when you see a certain people doing a certain things, that makes no meaning. How we bring about change and how we bring about growth is done through challenging and asking and doubting if that is the best for everyone. And so it's hard when this beautiful little baby who hasn't been on earth for very long spouts a nugget of truth to adults, and they feel challenged by this, whether it's to the mom or the dad or the teacher. And a lot of the times it actually doesn't go so well for the child. Whereas if you foster that attitude of, that's a great thing to say, well done, I'm so proud of your thinking, don't have to change it, but it's acknowledging the mind that's working and the way it's trying to make sense of the world around us. A child has the right to take risks, right? To take risks and find their limits, find their capacity. We're all growing, we're all learning, we're all seeing what other people are doing and wanting that for ourselves as well. So when you have that freedom to go ahead and try and do something that's just outside the comfortable zone, we have the freedom to do that within the sphere of protection and safety, of course, because children don't have that experience of the outer world and that it could be dangerous. But in the sphere of safety and protection, climbing a tree, jumping over a big fence, it's how children learn where things could go right for them or where things could go wrong with them. And that's part of us letting our kids grow and be in this world. So these 7 freedoms help a child understand and make sense of the world around them. It also helps a child see where they fit in the world. So these 7 freedoms help a child make sense of the world around them, helps them understand what's going on in the environment that they live in and how they fit in their environment and in the world in general. And as they make sense of the world around them, they develop that sense of worthiness, that sense of value, that sense of confidence that they can interact with the world around them and that they matter in this world because they're the ones in the driver's seat. They're the ones that are interacting with the world and understanding it and making meaning from it. So I want to bring it in now to the self-esteem triangle. Our self-esteem is tied to 3 components, which is our emotions, our needs, and our boundaries. I want to specifically hone in here on needs. Our needs are either survival-based or nurture-based. And if we come back to the concept of that little child, when that child is first born, they have no concept of themselves, okay? They are aware of only what they see. Once the baby starts focusing in on eyes and smiles, and you'll notice that stage in the baby's development, they've made that attachment to our parents or their caregiver in those early years. They depend on that caregiver to give them everything they need to survive. They can't even ask for what they need. All they can do is, cry out for everything, okay? They cry out because of the pain in the tummy, I'm hungry. They cry because that feeling, I'm cold. They cry because my skin's prickly, something's itching at the back here. So they're able to voice their needs, but it's not specific and it's up to the caregiver to understand what it is that baby needs. So our needs when we're very young are very much survival based. And we depend on them for basic needs like water, food, shelter, safety, security. I want to move here on safety and security and extend it a little bit into stability and predictability. So as a child needs water and food and shelter, the next thing a child needs is that predictability and that stability so that they know that when they cry out, that person will come to them. They know that when they need a hug, that person will give them a hug. So this is how needs are met. When they experience the world and interact with it as in, geez, that was great, ha ha ha, or this is scary, I'm crying, that there's always that person who comes to calm them. And just in the first few years until they're able to install their own survival or safety mechanisms to look after themselves. However, if that baby was never given a chance to cope for themselves in a loving way, that baby will always depend on someone else to come and rescue them or help them or save them from the scary thing that's happening around them. And you can see how easily this is done. And this is such a delicate area because I love my parents to death, but they mollycoddled me to death, where I was not allowed to do anything for fear of something happening to our precious firstborn. So there is that need for adults to check your fear so that you can let your child live and experience the world for themselves and to make a decision for how they would approach a situation if they were alone. And as a mother, I was so wary that I wasn't allowed to make decisions because they were all made for me. I would actually go out of my way to tell my kids, well, I know how I would tackle the situation. It'd be interesting to see how you would do it. What if mommy wasn't here? What's the first thing you would do? So I would actually break down every single step for my kids and see how they're going. And if they said a certain way, I'll be like, yeah, that's great. And if there was something missing, I'd be like, do you think we should we pay before we walk out the store? Do you think we might get arrested if we don't? So there's many learning opportunities, and I actually loved having kids and teaching them all these little things and, what's a banana and what's an apple. And anyway, I digress. Another need that needs to be met for children is the ability to know limits. And this is really important so that they are able to control themselves. So very basic example here, food, okay? Like, this tastes amazing. I can eat this all day, every day. What happens if I eat ice cream all day, every day? Oh, mommy, this hurts, right? So although we say to kids they have the right to say what they say and feel what they feel and eat what they eat, there are also caveats that come in to protect them at the end of the day, because where a child gets the freedom to be what they want to be, the child also needs protection from food, danger, elements, all these things, right? So if they feel like they need to eat anything they want, we all know that the law of life is, your tummy gets full and your tummy hurts when you overeat. So as a child, there's this just beautiful balance of helping a child do what they want to a certain limit. And as they learn that we all have limits, we become really healthy members of society, because we love to drive only up to 100 kilometers an hour here in Australia. And then we get put in jail if we speed. So learning limits from very young by someone who loves us, adores us, and is kind to us is really important. So the next need is the need for a child to be independent. And when a child is independent, they are able to learn for themselves, explore for themselves, make sense out of the world for themselves. And so it's really important to give kids the independence to experience the experiences they need to experience so that they can make meaning from their point of view at whatever stage they're at in the environment they're in. It's really strange how a child could be in a little environment and then get told a million things from an older child who's seen much more and heard much more and done so much more. Kind of ruins the experience for the younger brother, right? So it's really important to let the little one have their own independence to explore their world at their level. Coming off that need is the need for freedom, okay? And this is the freedom to be yourself. So the independence to do it your own way, to learn and explore, and also the freedom to be yourself and to be validated for who you are, not whose brother you are, not whose daughter or son you are, the freedom to be yourself. And lastly, one of the huge needs of children is play. Play and more play, which is to remove any obligation, any expectation, and to just do what the soul wants to do in that moment. And I'll say it again, so important for kids, extremely important to teenagers. I have two, they love to game, that's their playtime. And as adults, and although we work and we pack our schedules, where's the play? And when we do, how free does it seem? How much energy do you have? How much more can you do at work when you have put time for play? So once again, these needs are so important as a child, really important as a teenager, and they'll let you know it, and an adult who is weighed down by responsibility, expectation, and society standards, but still has those needs if only they can allow themselves the ability to fill their own needs. And how much different would their life be? So it goes to say here, and this is what I was alluding to earlier, that if these needs were not met as a child or as a teenager, right now, these needs may or may not be met for you. So what I'd like you to do is take a little bit of reflecting time and think back on your childhood as an observer and see if these needs were met for you and examples of where they were met for you. And conversely, where the needs were not met for you and how they're playing out for you today. I want you to realize that this is not a blame game. our parents, our caregivers, our teachers, they all did the best they can in whatever way they could. If they had known more, they would have done more. If the society around them had allowed for it, they would have done it. So we are all products of our society. We're all products of our parenting. We're all products of how our parents were parented. And it's kind of like a tribal cycle. So when you come ahead in your self-development journey and you notice areas where some of the gaps are, where you didn't get what you needed, it's time for us now as adults to fill the gap with love and compassion and break the tribal cycle and not carry it out into the future. So what I say is the things that happen to me stop with me, and I will be a better mother, grandmother, aunt, friend. So there are times in my parenthood where I have done some things that I didn't know I shouldn't have done. So I was advised by nurses to let my child cry it out so they can soothe themselves and learn to sleep through the night, right? In hindsight, I'm reading that when a child cries out for help and you're not there for them, they are making that mean that they don't matter. And that kind of makes me feel like, truly, is that what I did to my children? I'm going to be neutral on that, because if I were to make that meaning, that would give me a lot of grief. So I want to say that I did the best I could from the advice I was given by an expert at the time, and now experts are saying different. So we know more, we learn more, and we do more. So thank you so much for joining me for today's video on needs. The prompt today was share 5 things you thank yourself for. And I'm sure that when you share those 5 things, you'll be able to see the need you have in each of them and how you already give yourself those things. So well done for loving yourself and caring for yourself and making yourself feel like you matter. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. Leave your comments below and I'll come by and say hello, and I'll see you in my next video.